The quote for today around the idea of cynicism and really what cynicism means. And sometimes maybe we look at it as a negative trait, but this is the quote I came up with. Cynicism may open your eyes, but keeps them open. Move past doubt with the strength to face what comes. That's my quote for today. So, as you heard today's quote, today we're going to talk about the concept that we've all faced at some point, and that is cynicism. We've all experienced that moment when the world disappoints us, when things don't go as planned, and we start to see life through a lens of doubt and skepticism. But here's the truth that I learned this summer: cynicism may open your eyes, but courage is what keeps them open. It's courage that allows you to see beyond the disappointments and face what comes your way with strength and resilience. And that's what I want to lean into today. So here's the thing. Here's the problem with cynicism. Cynicism often feels like wisdom. It's that I've seen it all and nothing surprises me attitude that can feel like a shield against the world, people, and many other things. Now, let's be honest. Cynicism can be comforting. It gives us a sense of control because if we expect the worst, we can never be disappointed. But here's the problem: cynicism closes us off from possibilities. It makes us believe that there's nothing worth striving for, that everything is doomed to fail. It turns us into spectators of our own lives, too afraid to step into the arena. But in reality, all it did was keep me from experiencing the richness of life. Cynicism might be the doorway to seeing the harsh realities, but if you stay there, you miss out on everything that could be. How do we move past this idea of cynicism, especially if it's been our default? And that's when I want to talk about the role of courage. And with cynicism, that's where courage comes in. Courage isn't about being fearless. It's about facing fear and uncertainty with your eyes wide open. It's about saying, yes, I see the obstacles, the risks, and the potential for failure, but I'm going to move forward anyway. Courage is the antidote to cynicism because it keeps us open to possibilities, even when the world gives us reasons to doubt. If you think about it, every time you've taken a risk, every time you've stepped into the unknown, you had to summon the courage to move forward. And while it might have been uncomfortable, it's also where the magic happens. Courage allows us to see beyond the limitations we impose on ourselves and to face life with a sense of curiosity and wonder rather than closing ourselves off. That is the role of courage to me. How do we make the shift from cynicism to courage? How do we train ourselves to keep our eyes open when it's so much easier to close them? And this is the tactical steps and actions that you can start with today to help overcome the limitations of cynicism. And I want to be clear, I think cynicism is a stepping stone to a greater awareness of our wisdom. It's just a stepping stone because we have to have the courage to move through that awareness and open ourselves to experiences that we can never see until we move forward. Step number one: challenge your assumptions. Cynicism often comes from believing we know how things will turn out. But what if we're wrong? What if there's more to the story that we can see right now? Challenge the assumptions that keep you stuck in doubt. That's where the gap between cynicism and courage happens. Step number two: Take small risks. Courage doesn't have to be about big dramatic actions. It can be as simple as trying something new, speaking up when you would usually be quiet, or reaching out to someone you've been avoiding. Each small act of courage builds your resilience and opens your eyes a little wider. Number 3, and I mentioned this in the podcast the other day, and it's embrace vulnerability. One of the main reasons we fall into cynicism is to protect ourselves from being hurt. But in doing so, we also block ourselves from being truly seen and from forming real connections. Courage requires vulnerability, and it's in those vulnerable moments that we find our greatest strength. Number 4, focus on possibilities, not limitations. And that's where the change happens. Cynicism sees walls, courage looks for doors. And I can't remember where I heard that, but I really like that idea of the barrier that cynicism creates if we stay stuck there. And if we stop looking for what could go wrong and start asking ourselves what could go right, then we're going to see the shift in our mindset and how that's going to make a difference in the opportunities and the experiences that we face. So that's the 4 tactical steps in embracing courage to take us through cynicism. The wisdom of cynicism helps us see what could go wrong, or I like to say to clients, what's the worst that can happen? But practicing courage will make us step forward despite those ideas of what we think could go wrong. I've seen this play out in my own life and the lives of clients and people around me, friends. And there was a time when I let cynicism run the show, believing that every attempt to create something meaningful would just end in disappointment. But when I started to approach life with courage, doors began to open. New opportunities appeared, and I started to build connections I never thought were possible. One of my clients recently told me that they had stopped trying to connect with others because they were tired of being let down. They became cynical about relationships. And I could relate with them a little bit because that's what kind of started for me was the breakdown in relationships. And they expected every interaction to fail. But when they decided to approach connections with courage, when they let themselves be vulnerable, they found relationships that were more authentic and fulfilling than they could have imagined before. They moved past the doubt, and in doing so, they created a space for something beautiful to enter their life. Well, here's my challenge to you today. Move past cynicism. Let courage be the lens through which you see the world. Yes, life can be tough, and yes, things don't always go the way we plan. But every time you choose courage over cynicism, you take a step towards a richer, more fulfilling life. It's courage that lets you see the possibilities, the opportunities, and the beauty that's still out there. So keep your eyes wide open and face whatever comes with strength and resilience. Thanks for joining me on the daily truths and the weekly wins. I hope today's episode leaves you inspired to embrace life's challenges and make the most of every day. Don't forget to subscribe and like and share this with someone who could use a little boost. Join me again for more insights and encouragement. Until then, remember, progress, not perfection. Keep striving, keep growing.